Brad's on his way. I haven't heard from Vicky or Madonna.
Madonna is not going to be able to make it. Vicki said that she would make arrangements for somebody to bring her if we needed a quorum.
Oh, okay.
But that's not
Should I try to get a hold of her?
Brad. Okay, we'll get started. We have one more person on the way, but we're behind a couple minutes. So I want to thank everyone for being here, and we'll start like we always do with a prayer. Dear Father, you have sustained us this day, and you've made the earth and everything in it. Your hands formed the heavens, and we're thankful for everything that you've blessed us with. And sometimes we don't think of you as often as we should have, and we're sorry for that. We pray for forgiveness. We are thankful for the opportunity to serve the public, and we ask that you be with us as we make decisions that concern not only ourselves, but all of our neighbors, our loved ones, and our friends, and that we'll make the right decision with the information that we have. We thank you for all the people that have taken the time to come here, and we ask that you be with us and draw us closer to you as the days go by. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Our agenda is kind of, we're going to probably not follow exactly. We have, I'd like to open up a public hearing, and it says various funds. So, Greg, you're going to have to help me out since we don't have those various funds listed. Resolutions first.
Yes, number 15
Well,
and
those are
16.
the additional appropriations.
And
Should I start reading this resolution?
15 is for solid waste.
Okay. It's for the solid waste district. I'll just read it, it's not that long. Whereas the following creation of appropriation line 338 interlocal agreement, and whereas the request for an additional appropriation for $20,000 was properly advertised on August 10, 2012 in the Tipton Tribune, whereas the Tipton County Solid Waste District Board on May 3, 2012 approved to appropriate $20,000 from the reserve account to assist the city of Tipton in their curbside recycling program. Whereas effective July 1st, 2012, new legislation requires the Tipton County Council to hold a public hearing and take official action on additional appropriation requests from the Solid Waste District. And whereas a public hearing was held on August the 21st, that's today, 2012 at 7 p.m., giving the public the opportunity to hear and comment on the request to create new appropriations within specific funds and transfer within funds. Therefore, be it resolved by Tipton County Council, the following appropriation line and funding approved with the Tipton County Solid Waste District 338 interlocal agreement for $20,000. So basically what we're doing is we're creating a new line so that we can put money into it so that we can take it back out. Just have to do that. So at this time, I would invite any of the public, if you have any comments or anything about this particular item, the floor is open. Go on.
Oh, so is this reserve account, in solid waste money, or is it in the county council's reserve?
County Council.
Well, no, it's in solid waste, but statute changed July 1st, and so now it requires the county council to take action because they're an appointed board, not a elected board.
Anybody else?
Scott, does the council require any information of any type from the city as to, why they approached the solid waste district and asked them for this help or anything of that nature?
Well, I think Beth did a good job explaining that last time.
Very good.
Very much.
I won't.
Unless, yeah. All right. Should we close the public hearing? Continue on, do the other one? We'll move on to the next item. Resolution 2016. This has several different. So hold your breath. Whereas the additional appropriation requests were properly advertised on August 10, 2012 in the Tipton Tribune, and whereas a public hearing was held on August 21st, 2012 at 7 p.m., giving the public the opportunity to hear and comment on the request to create new appropriations, same kind of thing, with specific funds and transfer within funds, whereas the Tipton County Council has reviewed the financial data for each request and taken under advisement any and all comments made during the public hearing. Now therefore it be resolved by the Tipton County Council, the following appropriations are made to the appropriate funds. We have, under the general fund, county extension education, part-time $3,000, the jail supplies $4,000, inmate supplies $2,000, repair and maintenance equipment $13,500. Under the emergency management, we have garage and motor $1,800. Under the sheriff's sale fees, jail part-time $6,000. The Tipton County Health Department back to school night grant $3,500. And under the rainy day fund, all of these create line 11003 for director of training officer, $16,626.88. Create a line for supervisor, $461.56. Create a line for the IDAX coordinator, $692.34. Create a line for trainer, $461.56, and create a part-time line for $20,795.62. Create an overtime line, $8,640.75. Create a line for FICA, $3,700. Create a line for group medical insurance, $38,586.63. Create a line for service supplier, $43,679.89. And the last one is to create for a line for outside professional services, $66,500. Comments from the public? Anybody on these items? Bob?
On the extra money for the sheriff, the part-time, I mean, I'm all for public safety, but what are you gonna do if every department comes in and asks for it?
If everybody else comes in and asks for them?
Right. I mean, I'm all for what he does, but
Well, I guess we'll deal with it if departments come in and they, I think we're on like a SS, their meeting. That's something we do.
That's kind of what we've done in the past, as they come in.
not exactly this situation, but
What was the question exactly? Not exactly in this situation.
well, on the part-time money for John.
He did bring some information on explaining his request and explaining the need and everything that this part-time employee is doing for his department. And his desire to continue services and not to fall behind.
Suzanne, it's just something I got with, it's a line that I have that you can't use for, it's not for county general. It's out of one of my personal lines that I'm trying to transfer in there. That is from sheriff sales only. And I have, it can only be used for sheriff sale, things that have to deal with sheriff sales. That's all it can be used for. And she posts them in the computer, she does all the work at the station on them, so I figured I would just pay her out of that. That way we don't take out the county general for that.
Is that different from the last time?
Well,
Is that different from the last time you asked where it was coming from?
no, I found that, the first time it came from the jail turnkey. They just transferred enough to get me over until I can find somewhere else to get it from. And I think it was 2,000 last, the jailer turnkey fund. But I needed 8,000 for the year, so I found my sheriff's health fund that had over $10,000 in it, so I'll take it.
When we looked at balance, that's 16,000.
Yeah, I know it has over 6,000.
And
or
this isn't,
10,000.
I mean, we're not, saying that every year that this is gonna be something that will fund do that either, because the revenue's gonna change. But if we do choose to go ahead and let him do his part-time person a little longer this year, then that is revenue.
The current balance in the sheriff's sale fund is $16,540.
You know, I get something from taxpayers, and that's the company that puts them up, they put all that money in there. Every time I sell a house, or this house, I get $100 or something like that, out, $200 off that. To put in that fund. It used to be part of the sheriff's salary. And we chose one contract, not use it that way, so it's for other things.
All right, any other comments? Yeah.
Scott, do you have your speakers on? I can hear, because I can't hear now. I can't even hear Suzanne over here. So we're gonna have to speak up or make sure they're on so I can hear.
Okay.
If you don't mind, please.
Any other comments about these items? Thanks, John, for doing that.
Then just one question. By adding that much more to the part-time person, is there a chance what you're going to have to do, give her benefits and stuff too? Because it's almost become a full-time job.
It's part-time, it's under 32 hours, about 32 hours a week maximum. I mean, she could be full-time. I mean, I could use it for full-time, but I'm not trying to ask for that.
Okay, any other comments from anybody from the public? If not, we entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Second.
Second, Benny, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we'll open our regular scheduled meeting with Tipton County Council, August 21st. First item, we'll just go back to the resolution 2012-15. Any discussion or comments from the county council concerning this item? Nobody? Pretty self-explanatory. Anybody would like to make a motion concerning this? Beth?
I second the motion to approve resolution 2012-15.
All right, very good. Thank you, Suzanne. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Resolution 2012-16. Any discussion from the council on any particular item? Ms. Thomas?
I would like to point out, under the rainy day fund, the breakdown, the total for 911 is $133,645.23. And then the outside professional services is $66,500. That is the DLZ for $36,500 and Maximus for $30,000. And I would like.
Say that again, Suzanne.
The 66,500 is not broken out as to what it is. That is DLZ 36,500 and Maximus 30,000.
That's for the two additional appropriation requests we have in the commissioner's fund.
Okay.
And if it's okay, I would like to point out in the rainy day fund, which the rainy day fund rarely receives any revenue whatsoever. Once it's gone, it's depleted. The current cash balance is $468,895.29. The remaining ambulance service to be spent is $123,000. That'll bring it down to $345,895.29. off the current appropriations, the $133,645.23 for dispatch, and the $66,500 for DLZ and Maximus. That brings down our rainy day fund at the end of the year to $145,750. That's it. We will have to find an alternate source to pay for ambulance service in 2013.
So I think we're pretty much here where we need to do the 911 money out of that. I mean, I think that's the given, but we do have to get up a discussion, talk about DLC and Maximus.
Yeah, explain the DLC to us.
That's the
That bill?
ADA, that's the ADA compliance.
Okay, survey.
Survey.
Most of these contracts, when they were awarded, were coming out at, and the commission asked the last meeting, we consider another source. And one was because, I think Project 52 may have been one of them didn't utilize it. And I stressed this at the last meeting, I felt like Maximus should come out right day. I feel like that's something that shouldn't, the edit fund shouldn't have to absorb. It's something that we have to do with the county financials. But the DLC, I think with ADA and economic development, that those could go in and help us out and not hit the rainy day forever.
We have any idea where the general fund is as far as the balance? Because there was some discussion about the extra revenue that was not anticipated from the state covering.
That's, I believe,
Let me go check Brad to see if she's gotten that moved. Do you have the full ledger?
Question? Any other comments while Jackie's checking on the piggy bank of the county? Mr. Dollins?
I'm not sure, but when you proposed the ordinance to be passed, I think you said the wrong number, but I'm not sure. And I guess, resolution, I'm sorry, yeah. On the first one, I think you said -13 instead of -15.
I may have.
I thought he said 15.
Pardon?
I thought he said 15, but I was looking at
Okay,
it
well,
too.
that, and I don't know what to do about that anyway. I mean, obviously, you were voting on the one that you wanted to be voting
Maybe
on.
there's a dead spot back there in that corner.
Well, when I seconded, I'm certain I said 2012-15.
Yes,
Perfect. Thank you.
There's one.
I'll just comment, just as far as, make a comment about the rainy day fund. Brad could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but in 8 years, our rainy day fund has not been down at this, to my recollection. We, at least the last 7 or 8 years, the council has been pretty diligent about trying to put money away. We've been able to do some things and pay for things that we normally couldn't have, but it's a little discouraging to know that we're going to be down this, at the record low, at least an 8-year low, 145,000. That's the thing. I know the department heads have, their needs and wants are always increasing, and the revenue from the taxes are not there. I mentioned this 2 months ago that there were 3 or 4 major proposals from the commissioners that had huge dollar figures on them. And, so I don't know if we're at the breaking point yet, but it seems like we're approaching it, in my opinion. Do you remember it being that long, Brad?
You know how much you guys pay for the ambulance service yearly?
This year's about 230 is what we put into, 235 maybe, something like that.
Should we discuss, Beth has mentioned her, or has stated her thoughts as far as the Maximus bill coming out of the rainy day fund. Suzanne, Danny, you got any thoughts about that? Not to put you on the spot, but just,
I agree with that, but I think that's where the maximum should come from.
Well, the thing about rainy day is it's savings, and if the general fund can absorb it, and then we'll deal with it when we do our budgets as part of the cash balance. If we spend our savings, we spend the savings, it's gone. So, do we want to put it in, if we spend from our cash balance, then we deal with that during budget time. So I'd almost, at this point, I'm not a big proponent of spending our general fund dollars, but, you know, I think that's probably a little bit better place to even maybe take them both from and leave the rainy day fund as intact as we can. If it gets
You can move over to, at the end of each year, a percentage of what is not spent in your general fund, the rainy day. You don't even know where we're at the end of the year.
Would you say that one more time?
At the end of the year, on rainy day, there's a percentage the statute allows you to move over to your rainy day. So let's say if
From the general fund that
Right,
general
yeah,
fund, okay.
yeah. And it's only the general fund, I believe, but, that's, and it's a small percentage. You can't go over, and it has to do with the appropriation. I mean, it's got a list of things to meet, but you can move money over to that if you have funds that are available from the general fund.
there's a time frame on that.
But we don't know what our end of the year was yet, so we don't know if we have anything to move around.
Where does the riverboat fund figure into all this?
We get $94,000. We got $94,000 and change this year. That just came in. But I can't recall.
It's miscellaneous.
How much you got?
Yeah, where are you at?
I believe it went in general.
It's the same with the rainy.
I don't know, Suzanne, which was, previous auditor, thought that it goes into the general fund.
I believe a portion of it goes into the general fund, it may be distributed to some of the units as well, I'm not.
You're right. I think it does go to-
I've never heard it, you might have mentioned the riverboat fund before.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm guessing it probably goes straight to the general fund.
I don't, in our list of.
I'm wrong. There's a portion of,
Yeah.
Suzanne, I believe is correct. A portion of it goes to the county, into the general, and then a portion of it is distributed to each of the cities and towns. There's a formula that the state sends through.
So we don't have just a budget for Riverboat. We don't have a,
Don't we show it as miscellaneous income when we do our?
The on
budget?
part,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, so we use it.
Okay.
Well, if we move the 66,500 into the general fund, that would leave 212,250 in the rainy day fund.
If we're not comfortable with that, then do the 30 of Maximus in the general fund and the 36 for the 88 out of edit and split it. And they both,
I would be more
yeah,
than that.
and then they both, would participate.
I think on the project 52, I know when Phil gave his I think we should have some money in that project 52.
What do you think? What do you
I think both of those expenses are county expenses and should come out of county money, either the general fund or the rainy day fund.
Do you know what the total is of the edit funds right now? No?
The total that we have in the,
Or project 52, do you know what the total is of that? You said 11,000 last time.
project 52,
It hasn't been put in yet, and there's also an investment. that
That's right,
county
52
board,
is-
$301,000 investment.
That sounds still better.
Well, that's been voided, so I don't know if it's still out there. But it's at 610,000. Pardon? No, that's the rainy day. She has the rainy day. I'm working on the general fund.
hey Scott, I think it's 60,000,
60,000.
something. I don't quote it, but
So it's increased about 49,000. It's increased about 49,000 last month.
Is this?
I don't know where you got the 11,000 from.
Jack?
This is the amount that's gonna come out of category, general.
Oh, we encumbered.
We've got it. It's sitting in the general fund. It's 23,000.
Right. If you look at project 52, just project 52, 23,100 was encumbered. 85,000 was appropriated. So that makes 108,100. As of now, there's been 8 months, 3,300 a month spent. The economic development director, that's 26,400. Ivy Tech was given 22,600, and the website hosting of 390. So out of 108,000, less than 30,000 has been spent. Yeah. 76,510.
Can I go back to the rainy day fund for a minute?
Sure.
Okay. I've got another report that I have here, and Jackie has provided the monies, the amount that will be received into the rainy day fund, which is $165,462.99. So that helps a lot. When I'm at $145,750, after all of the requests, if they're all approved, and the $66,500 comes out of the rainy day fund tonight, and that $145,750, if you take that plus the $165,000 that's coming to the rainy day fund, that'll put that fund up around,
310,
a little bit over 300,000.
Then we still have about 250,000 of EMS 2013 that we need to tackle. So if we stay with what we've been doing, that's going to drop us down to 60.
I like the idea of using the edit funds. This is the second year in a row that, we're talking about encumbering the 23,000, and then an additional 85,000, and the 108,000 that's in there. For those of you who don't know, the commissioners, they make up a plan at the beginning of the year, and they say, these are what we think we want to spend the money on. And this is the second year in a row where, this pot of money is still sitting here, 30,000 spent out of the 108,000 that was given in that account, and it's still not being used. And I just feel like
But
the
there are
intent.
projects out there that.
There are projects, but
dedicate to that money too.
There are, like the rest of the EDC, but for the most part, the last 2 years, those monies haven't went to where the intent of the plan was just like the courthouse renovation. Those things have just been rolling over and encumbering, and now we have an extra $76,000. It just doesn't seem like it's the right way to do it. But I'm for taking it out of edit, at least the ADA portion of it. probably said too much. Anybody got a motion?
Well, I still like taking the 30,000 out of the general fund and the 36.5 coming out of edit, therefore reducing that total by 66,500. We're gonna need that later. If we look at the rest of that resolution, Chuck, we've got 1,800 out here for garage and motor. I know you originally asked for that, and you said later you didn't need it. Do you want 1,800 for garage and motor, not the general fund?
No.
How much do you need?
Can I get 400?
400.
I can
Yeah.
pencil in 400 right now.
I'll ask for 400. How's that?
400, so we've reduced that, I got 400. Sounds like budget time. And John, you know, the 6,000 on the part-time, and I know I walked in while the public hearing was going on that piece, but I know we start out with 8. And we moved 2,000 a couple months ago, so you end up with 10. And I just really, out of principle, of all the other departments that have part-time money, for us to budget a certain amount in December or last year for this year, and then all of a sudden, halfway through the year, need to double it, I'm not in favor of 6,000. Okay, I could see us doing some, but every other department is going to be in here asking for part-time money, or they'll just spend it all in the next month or two. Then they're going to come in and say, well, now I need more, and expect us to be able to generate that. So, you know, when we do it at the beginning of the year, I think that means that that's what we've got. And there needs to be some unusual circumstances, you know, some bad weather or some disaster that makes your department need more part-time money, because when you get the budget back to yourself in October or November and this is what you got, you've got to make a plan to deal with that for the year. So I don't know if anything extraordinary has happened, unusual, that would make us double that from what we talked about in last September and October to make this year happen. So I'm not in favor of 6,000. So I would go with 3. I'd be okay with 3, but I don't know what the rest of the council wants to do on the sheriff part-time. I know even though it's coming out of the sales fund, I still think
I'm taking silences. Silence.
Do you have anything to contribute, and what do you feel about 3,000?
Well, I think last year, kind of set up when we did the part-time last year, and we started doing everything, we moved some money from the salary line to make it, it was about 16,000, somewhere in there last year. And I know it's not where they cut it, but you know, it's a thing that there's a difference kind of in the department heads in our department. You know, you've got to have a paper trail in the way of everything we do, and we won't have that. We don't have the people to handle that job. That office is used Monday through Friday, and then it's locked up. We just don't have the people to do it. So I've got one person in there that does all that paperwork, and I have Lee who does all her paperwork, and it's still piling up on her. So I did cut her back and said, you know, I want you working about 30 hours a week right now, and it's starting to pile up on our desk. It's not enough help, but we're trying to make do what we can.
I don't have a problem with the 6,000 because it's coming out of sheriff's sale.
I don't either, but I think we need to have a stipulation that they not work over a certain amount of hours a week,
Right.
because I don't want to take a chance of them considered full-time and then be eligible for benefits.
Right.
But
but that position has not worked over 32, so it never has.
Yeah.
But the issue was, I mean, I know it's coming out of a different location, it's not general fund dollars. It just, what do you want to tell the rest of the office, the department head, when they come in October and say, oh, by the way, I spent all my money, I need more right now? That's the precedent we're setting, and I think that's what's more frustrating to me, is that it was all gone at the end of June. You got 6 months of the year left, and now we're supposed to fix it.
Well, the one benefit to Johnny's request is that he had an alternate solution. He has another fund that with fees in it that have collected and grown over time. He has that resource that he can use. It's not general fund money.
No, I mean, the girl brings in more money than her salary by doing the tax warrants and getting them out there. You know, people pay the tax warrants off. She brought in like April to, I think in June, like there, she brought in $19,000. You know, that's more than her salary. Just by getting those things sent out, she answers phone calls all day long. People think we're really gonna arrest them, so we send those out. So, I mean, she getting called constantly. People are making payment plans, they're doing everything they can.
And that
She
money-
deals with that.
That money goes directly to the general fund.
100%, yeah. It goes right back to the county.
$5% is the 18,000.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm hearing, emergency management, 400, if we're taking all these one at a time. Sheriff's sale, part-time jail. Denny, any comments, questions about that?
Still thinking.
Still
I mean, I know we need public safety and everything, but it seems to me like it's taken the lion's share of county funds. I mean, there has to be a limit sometime as to what we can report in. There's just a limit.
Any other items there that you want to discuss?
Can we go back to outside professional services?
Outside professional services. I had Mark on there, the DLZ, it sounded like people are okay with the edit and Maximus out of general. You want to talk about that?
Well, the way that it's been advertised, though, it would have to be re-advertised. Well, edit would, because they've already paid that one. See, they've already paid that, I mean, they have already arranged to pay that out of their edit money. But the Maximus, if we want to take it out anything other than rainy day, then we would have to additional appropriate it for next meeting. So, again, going back to surplus, and it's only what I'm suggesting, is that we allow it to go ahead and come out on rainy day, and when we get our end of the year, find out what we can transfer, that we make sure we've got $30,000 in general fund to put back in rainy day. That way we'll cover it. Otherwise, we've got additional appropriated in, and they'll be held for those.
And ambulance service.
Unless we pay out edit like they've already proposed.
And ambulance service used to be in the commissioner's budget. It may have to be moved back to the commissioner's budget for next year.
I just think that if we're gonna pay ourselves at the end of the year, the savings, it'll never happen.
Well, it may have to be $30,000.
The money won't be there, it won't happen.
It's hard to follow, isn't it? It's hard for me to follow, and I know what's going on.
Well, I'm okay with everything advertised out of the rainy day fund. And my thoughts are that the ambulance service very possibly may have to be moved back over commissioner's budget. For 2015.
I don't like spending all our savings. I don't.
The only one you can do it. Assuming you would have it, you can buy two for ones. And leave it where they are.
Well, when Suzanne's comment about the, she kind of threw that in there about the, going back to the commissioner's budget. I don't know if that, for me, it doesn't even fall into the equation. Yeah, we have a problem here that we wanted to solve first. Just to say, to look at these two numbers or three numbers and say that, oh, now we're thinking about a bigger concept, we're gonna give that ambulance back in the commissioner's fund. That doesn't help at all, it actually convolutes a little bit, in my opinion. But, I mean, it's something, you know, are we here to discuss that? Or is it just out there that we want to remember that at budget time?
Well, we want to remember that at budget time, and I don't think it really, we're going to spend the money irregardless. And the way these requests have been advertised is out of the rainy day fund. And if we want to make changes, we have to re-advertise the request.
Not on the PLC,
Not-
not a maximum, either one of those, up to 66.5 come off.
If the 66.5 came off of here, they would have to be re-advertised if we were wanting to.
And they were already approved, so you're all that.
We could propose taking the 66.5 out of the edit fund, the two items out of the edit funds. And then that would be similar to what the commissioners will have to do in 2013. If the ambulance goes back, they're gonna have to deal with it. They have 76,500 in that one budget item. If we take 66.5 out of there, they're gonna have to deal with that, or they're gonna have to deal with the bigger problem, the $290,000 ambulance next year, about 4 months. So it's the same thing. We're gonna have to make a decision at some point. You're gonna put it off now, you're gonna make it tonight. That's the way I look at it.
And how healthy is the edit fund?
You guys need to realize that it's your job to appropriate edit dollars, not to decide what to spend it on.
Well,
The council is overstepping their boundary when they are trying to line item the edit dollars.
well, the commissioners, when they signed both contracts,
We committed to sign 2 contracts.
and when you did that, in your meeting, you said you were gonna use edit funds to pay for it. So you
No,
committed
we
that.
said if we had to, but if you guys did not step up to the plate and offer to appropriate the money out of the county dollars, then that's the only money that we have approved that we can do.
No, I was at the meeting with Jackie's contract, and that was very specific, that it would be used for that. That was very specific.
We said it could be used for it. It could be. We said we could spend it, we had to make the contract.
I just hate to spend the rainy day if it's not necessary at this time. When we get into our budget session, if we can bring the ambulance back into the general fund, that's great. If we bring half of it in, that's great. You know, it's only been a couple of years that we've taken it out of there and spent rainy day. But I just don't think it's hard to put money back into savings once you've spent it. And I know there's a window and there's a time of opportunity and there's a percentage, but it's hard, I think, to get that action to occur. So if we don't have to spend the rainy day right now in August, let's work through the budget, let's get our general fund balanced, let's see what the requests are for 2013. We don't have any of those details that we really need if we're trying to look at the big picture. And I appreciate Suzanne's thought of trying to look at 13, but we just don't have any data right now that says how those funds are sitting. So I would like to take the 66.5 out of the resolution, do not put it in the rainy day as an expenditure, don't appropriate that. Appropriate the rest of the resolution as it's presented with the 400 for EMA,
that a motion?
What did you,
Okay.
in your motion, would you?
I move that we accept resolution 2012-16 with changes, emergency management, the garage and motor request of 1,800 now be changed to 400. Remove the last piece, create line 31100 outside professional services for 66,500 in the rainy day fund. And I didn't say anything about the sheriff's line.
There's the motion, is there a second? No second? All right, is there another motion?
I move we table the resolution.
Move the table, is there a second?
I move we take the DLZ out of the edit and everything else out of rainy day. Yeah, we changed it.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve resolution 2012-16 with the following changes. Garage and motor going down to 400, the $36,500 be paid out of edit, and the $30,000 Maximus bill be paid out of the rainy day fund. Is that right, Dan?
Yes.
And Suzanne second? Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item. Tax abatement, address manufacturing.
Kevin, did you vote on that last one?
I did so, because not necessary. Huh?
Take 4 votes,
I think it's gonna take 4.
Oh, it is going to take 4. I appreciate that, Ken. That's right, we're missing 2 people. Well, if I was going, let me do that again. Thank you very much. It's been moved, resolution 2012-16, reduce garage and motor from 1,800 to 400, to do the, pay the $36,500 DLC out of edit, and to pay the Maximus bill out of the rainy day fund. I'll go around the table, that way I'll have a more accurate count. How's that? Seth?
Yeah.
Yay? Suzanne?
Okay.
Yay?
Yay.
Brad?
No.
And I'm saying no. So. We'll have to come up with a different solution. Is there a motion then, a different motion somebody wants to propose concerning resolution 2012-16?
I'll restate my motion.
Well, can I make a motion
Go ahead.
on resolution 2012-16? I motion that we approve all the requests under the general fund, the sheriff's sale fees, the county health, of $133,645.23 for 911 at a rainy day.
Second. That allows us to get everybody's request out there and not be held back by these. However, we are creating. No, all of these, the 133,645, that was all advertised every day. That's the 911.
So everything except the last item, is that right, Suzanne?
That's right.
Okay, it's been moved to accept resolution 2012-16
That was the $400.
And $400 on the garage motor for emergency management.
with two changes, one being the garage and motor from 18 to 400. And,
That's for another one.
and removing the $66,500 to create line 31100, right? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Beth. All those in favor?
I want to be sure I understand it. We had too many changes here. So the 66.5 were
So it edit pays it, it pays for the aggressive. Each one of those, all of the rest of that, up through line, where it says line 11, was all 911. It's just the 133, whatever, or 132.
Got that? Everything
And then you
except
would still have county health, sheriff's LP, emergency management, one for itself, and then jail and all that out.
So Beth made a motion?
No,
Suzanne, I'm
Suzanne
sorry.
made a motion, I seconded.
Seconded. Okay. We'll do a roll call, Beth.
Okay.
Yay.
Yay.
Okay.
Yay.
Brad?
Yay, I'm okay with that.
All right, motion carries. Now we're gonna move on to the tax statement. Linda, you wanna give us a little information about this? No.
You have a form in your packet, a grid with the 3 current property tax abatements that are open in the county. And for the report, you'll see high performance alloys. That was resolution 2012-04. It was a 10-year abatement for a new building. They had estimated the cost at $125,000. It was actually $1.65. They had said they would retain the 22 jobs, create 2, and they've done that already this year, completed the building, and increased the payroll by about 7%. So I would recommend to you that High Performance Alloys Incorporated in Windfall is in compliance with the requirements of their tax abatement. The second one that is open is Pioneer Hybrid International. It's in the 5th year of a 6-year abatement for both real and personal. The company has completed the investment and exceeded their job creation. You'll see that where they were at 54, so they create 2. They're now at 71, and they've exceeded their payroll projections as well. So I recommend to you that the company is in compliance with the requirements of the tax abatement. The third one is Trust Partners that I've discussed in June. I understand you discussed in July. Trust Partners had purchased a vacant building. It was the former 84 lumber building here in town. It was eligible for what is a rarely used 2-year vacant building tax abatement. The company completed that investment. They moved the promised jobs. They added an additional job, but then they closed the facility due to the impact of the economy on home building decimated their sales and revenue, and they closed the facility on June 15th of 2012. As of the date of their filing, they were certainly in compliance, but now, having closed their business, they're no longer in compliance. But let me give you just a couple of updates. One is this abatement was a 2-year abatement on the vacant building.
I believe that technically they should have filed last year for the first year of that because they were in before March 1st. So they would have been eligible to file for 100% of the abatement, which is year one, for 2011 pay 12. But they did not file, and the full amount of taxes have been paid for 2011 pay 2012. They made the first payment in May, they made the balance earlier this month. So taxes are paid in full, and Brad and I have discussed back and forth via email. I believe that the abatement will expire, but regardless of that, having talked with Jackie and Greg today, believe that it's appropriate to rescind it, even though the 2 years on a 2-year vacant building 2-year tax abatement will have passed. Am I wording that right, Jackie? Thank you. So that's my update to you, and would suggest they're not in compliance, and that I have the forms for you, Scott, for all 3 of those for this evening.
Any questions for Linda?
Well, I emailed everybody the code that I researched as far as how to do the determination and rescind that. And according to IC, we're supposed to have a hearing on that. And once we need to notify them, and it needs to be within 30 days of when we notify them that we're going to have a hearing. So I don't know if we can set a hearing date tonight. I went ahead and I printed it. I didn't know if everybody needed it. There was also, when we talked with an attorney on the issue, he suggested it and gave me a draft of a resolution that I still got some blanks, and we need to get a couple pieces of information together for it. The 2 resolutions that created the abatement, we need to get those numbers and dates, but then we need to, after our hearing, pass a resolution to rescind that. That's the way I read that in the code.
Okay, so we don't need to take any action on the first 2, right? We don't need to take any action on the first 2. Just done this report.
You have to accept them.
We have to accept them.
And then CF1 should be what Linda has for you to sign.
Okay.
On the back is chairman, that's president of the.
All right.
And then there's also, I think on the CF1, there's one if you're, if they're not compliant, and they already agree to sign there. So take one of those on.
I move we accept the report and the approval of the abatement for high performance alloy and Pioneer hybrid, and continue the abatement.
Give it to Beth.
All right, Beth, thank you for seconding. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion for trust partners.
At our last meeting, we had a motion to start the termination process on that abatement. So we want another one for Linda's report. I would move that we continue to process the termination of the abatement for Trust Partner LLC.
Do we want to include that to advertise or not? Or do that something?
Well, we need to decide a hearing date.
Okay, how about our next meeting?
Does it have to be before the next meeting?
It has to be within 30 days of when we notify them.
So it could be at the next meeting.
Well, yeah, I mean,
And then just as a point of information, while you're looking at the calendar, Trust Partners no longer owns the building and is no longer responsible, past, having paid this year, no longer responsible for the debt.
So they won't be our hearing.
we'd meet
They
on,
might, I don't know. They're not here anymore.
we meet on the 18th next month. Thank you. That's all I was doing.
Okay, so, Brad, motion is to continue the resolvement of the abatement and then also advertise for hearing. Want to do that?
Yeah, we can go ahead and advertise our hearing on the compliance for September 6th, 18th at our regular council meeting.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Jason's got something with me.
I was just gonna ask a question. I heard Mr. Nichols state that they had to notify 30 days. That would only give 28 calendar days until
Has to be within.
the 30-day notification.
When we notify it, the meeting has to be within 30 days, not outside 30
Gotcha.
days.
Then move to second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. And speaking of Jason, it's the next person on our list. County surveyor to create inspection fee fund.
Yeah, I know during the last 2 years, our county has an ordinance specific to ditching in the county right-of-way. Any utilities or anybody that's going to do work in our county right-of-way, one has to get permission from the commissioners to do the work. And then also, they have to pay a fee, an estimated fee for inspection as they're doing the project to preserve, not only, the main reason is to preserve drainage in the county, which the county has 292 drains. There's a process by this goes about. And I know with this council, at least the last 2 years, and including last year, they placed an item line in here for inspections, the 31503, which is in my budget. And what we had been doing with the previous administration was TDS would send a check in. The previous administration would receipt that into that line item. And then the inspector would go out and do the work, turn in their time sheet, they would be paid, and then any money left over, a claim would be generated, and that would be refunded to the utility or whoever sent the check in. In their review in their office on procedures with Greg and Jackie, the concept has been done in other counties. I think what we put in front of you, or at least the auditor's office has, is a resolution to make that official. In other words, I think Jackie might be able to elaborate a little bit more on the legality of it, but with her help, we were able to get together this document. It's something that's a step beyond other than discussion or a simple motion in a meeting, if I'm articulating that
Yeah,
correctly.
well, the problem is that even though it comes in for that, they cannot receipt into an expense line and there's a report come out correctly. Plus, even though it comes in specifically for that amount, the county council has to appropriate all monies that go into the county general fund. And so, by doing that, by trying to put it in that line item really supersedes the fact that the money is appropriated and what's to be spent for. And so this is a way to alleviate that and put it in a fund that he has to report back to you on the money that come in and come out without having additional appropriated each time. And it's aside from, you still have to take the action, but it's aside from the county general fund. It's in a fund all of its own.
Jackie, you said we have to appropriate all money that goes into the county general.
Absolutely. No money can be spent out of the county.
No money can be spent
monies-
out of there, but we have to appropriate everything that comes in.
Well, before it's spent, you do.
That's what we do that in our budget, Rob's
Oh.
budget.
I guess I just never heard term that way before.
All county dollars, unless specifically stated in an ordinance like this or by statute, have to be appropriated by the county council. Doesn't matter what funds,
Spam.
in order to spend it.
But we don't have to appropriate all the money that comes in.
We don't have to appropriate all
all
that's
You don't have to appropriate it all at one time, but any dollar that comes in before it can be spent, you have to appropriate.
Well, we don't have to appropriate money that goes into the county general. We don't have to appropriate money that comes in.
Sure you do. That's what you do at your annual budget.
Yeah.
You use it as revenues. You appropriate all that money that they spend.
Okay, so this is going into a separate fund.
So we'll need to read the ordinance, have 2 readings, second reading and a.
You
don't have to have 2 readings on this one because there's no fee. And there's no penalty involved.
So one reading tonight, would you pass it?
Yes.
So, right here, do we have the resolution? Looks like that.
You got any coming up during this next month with this?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we're here. We had some inspection work done that's being done by some utilities that have been installed by Smithfield Telephone, and there's another project coming up for TDS. I think they approved 5 or 6 locations that are going to go in the right of way. Those 2 entities have already placed or sent their checks in. The Smithfield one has already actually been inspected. And we were generating a claim like we'd done in years prior, and then that's one of the triggers that Jackie and Greg noticed, was saying, well, for accounting purposes and, granted, we've been doing that in the past, but this is the appropriate way to make this fund accurate. But yeah, we have some outstanding claims that we had to hold because the only other solution would have been to move money from my line items inside my budget and then come here and ask for, one was $1,200 or something along those lines. Once again, all those monies have been paid by the utility companies. So it's nothing coming out of general fund or any budget or any fund in this county other than, there's no taxpayer dollars that are going out to fund these operations by the utility companies.
So who drew up this ordinance?
I did.
Yeah, and I got a chance to review it.
I'll go ahead and read the ordinance. An ordinance of the Tipton County Council of the State of Indiana establishing a non-reverting fund for inspection fees to the Tipton County Surveyor's Office. Findings. The Tipton County Surveyor's Office receives inspection fees from time to time. The cash and checks are to cover the cost of inspection fees for specific projects. While there have been no problems, complaints, or issues with the use of the inspection fees by the Surveyor's Office, the surveyor is requesting this council establish a non-reverting fund for the acceptance, deposit, and use of inspection fees received by the Surveyor's Office. The establishment of a non-reverting fund for inspection fees by the Tipton County Surveyor's Office and the establishment of procedures for keeping of detailed records of all inspection fee money received and all expenditures made by the Tipton County Surveyor's Office from inspection fees received is good fiscal policy and should be implemented. Now therefore be it ordained by the Tipton County Council of the State of Indiana as follows. There is hereby established a special non-reverting fund called the Surveyor Inspection Fee Fund, hereinafter referred to as the fund. All inspection fee, cash, and checks received by the surveyor of the Tipton County surveyor or by the Tipton County Surveyor's Office Surveyor's Office shall be deposited by the surveyor in the account approved by deposits of public funds and may be commingled with other deposits subject to the requirements of the following paragraph. The surveyor shall maintain a contemporaneous okay, yeah, skip. Written record of each check or cash received, the name and address of the entity from whom the check was received in a specific project. The fund may be extended without appropriation provided that the expense of the surveyor is for inspection for the specific project of receipt. Upon completion of the specified project, the remaining balance shall be returned to the party from whom the original deposit was received. No unexpended balance in the fund shall revert to the general fund of Tipton County. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon its adoption.
Any discussion?
So in the day-to-day activities, when these companies present this deposit, this check or whatever to hold, is it going through the auditor's office
Yes, sir.
then for the deposit?
Yes, sir.
And is the auditor office writing the check off the balance coming back?
Yes,
And the
well,
treasurer?
we fill out 2 claims. So once we're done with the inspection, Dean or myself will fill out a claim. You know, we're tracking how much money they put
Right.
in, and then we will fill out a claim back to that utility and just process it through normal routes like they would if it's still going through the commissioners.
So there's 2 offices involved.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you determine the inspector? What, do we have a list of,
Um,
do they have qualifications, what, how do you determine? Does
Um,
it have to be a company or?
No, we've only really utilized three individuals in the past, and some of them, you know, availability. Anybody that wants to have an opportunity to do it, they can feel free to. You know, we only get 1 or 2 maybe a year. Last year, I think we had 1, and they usually only last for a week. But no, Beth, there's really no requirement. You know, if perhaps they've had some type of construction background, you know, kind of like they've done in the planning department, you know, you want somebody who's going to be able to mark up a set of plans. So I guess there is some, because they go out there with a set of plans from the utility company, and like anything that they cross or a tile they open up, then they'll mark it on the plan, they'll mark what size it is, and then we get a set of as-built plans back, so we do have those as a record.
Would it be a good idea to make a small little qualification list? Do you see any benefit in that at all? Or
I
not?
think I could.
I mean, if there's not a benefit, don't, but it seems like it might be a good thing to have in place in case people question.
Sure. I can do that.
And then whoever does the inspections, are they bonded? Or do
No,
they
and
have
I-
insurance liability, they don't fall back on it. I mean, if they're doing it just as the county, can they fall under our umbrella?
Well,
Or
I don't
if they
know.
fall, unless they break a lane,
Right.
while we're out there doing this inspections?
I don't want to pass that off on Steve by any means, but his office has more inspections. This is only the 3rd year we've had to sell the contract out to somebody to go out and do that. I know he's had guys who do the inspection work. I don't believe there's a liability waiver that we have. So I don't believe there's any document that's ever presented to us by the commissioners or by our insurance board or anything along those lines that we have them sign or anything along those lines. We look at them as, I guess, contractual.
So they get a 1099? Tax-wise?
I can't answer that. I don't believe they have.
Uh,
Our guys are independent contractors and get a 1099.
So do we have like then an agreement, like a form of some type for outside professional services that they sign stating that, so we're not held in any kind of liabilities or anything, or
Not that I'm aware of, they're just out there.
just somebody wants to
independent
go out and do
contractors.
this, they go do it?
Yeah, they're independent contractors.
But there's really no formal contract though, is there? Steve?
No.
But they're just,
Moses asked, Commissioner Herron had served as an inspector prior to he says he thought.
I
it was
signed an
something-
agreement when I did the very first file inspection, and there was an agreement I signed. But basically, it just says that I am
You're only
being
the-
contracted for the job, I am responsible for my own,
There really should be something in place.
any other questions about the resolution proposed? Not, does somebody want to make a motion?
I move we approve it.
Any moves we approve? Brad, second, thank you. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, meeting's adjourned. There's no other, no, I'm just kidding. There's no other items on. Yeah, no, we've got Linda, Steve, Chuck. You have anything?
I'm good.
No, Steve, no?
Jack.
All right. Jack, yes. All right, Linda, you want to go first?
Yeah.
Steve.
I got a transfer
from professional outside source to supplies to, for printing forms, property record cards that result from the reassessment, and you have to buy paper and envelopes. And we are transferring it out, as you guys know, we're in litigation right now with the reassessment firm. And we know there's gonna be at least $1,500 returned to us. But we're hoping to get more than that. But, so that's why we're transferring it out as, a professional outside service to supplies. Because this is something that's gonna have to come up, that we're gonna have to get out here probably within the next month. And so, we're running really short on our supplies. Don't have one.
A resolution here, but I would make a recommendation that we go ahead and then we can resolution. As long as we approve it tonight, and they can go ahead and make that transfer. Resolution form.
Is this something else I should know?
So we go ahead and vote on the transfer.
I'll make a motion to approve transfer of $5,000 from professional outside services to supplies for the Tipton County assessment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Denny. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Steve?
There was apparently some breakdown. We had requested an additional appropriation on July 31st, and I was under the impression it was on the agenda. What we were asking for is an additional appropriation for you to have a public hearing on that, the next opportunity. And this is for our inspectors. Every year, we run out of money for our inspectors. We're down to $1,200 out of an original $10,000 budget item. We're requesting an additional appropriation of $8,000, which I think would see us through to the end of the year. We've got, this year has been an extraordinary year in terms of improvement location permits. We submit the money we charge for building permits more than covers the cost of the inspections. This year was extraordinary. We collected so far this year almost $207,000 in building permits. That was unusual because of wind energy. Last year we collected $37,000. So that's what I'm here for, is to get, have you set a public hearing for us for that additional appropriation. I appreciate you listening to me when I'm being on the agenda.
So is there a motion?
Second.
Thank you, Suzanne. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Good done. Chuck, you said you did have something.
I did. It was for it was for the additional appropriation from the general fund for $4,085 from EMA to pay back for the Nextel hardship that we talked about last time.
Any questions about this? We all know.
Is that the number you came up with,
Mhm.
$4,000?
$4,085.
Our motion, advertise. Beth, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion to advertise for $4,085 for public hearing.
Very good. Thank you, Suzanne. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion carries. And I thought Jackie had something.
I've got an ordinance drawn up. I didn't, do I take that to commissioners first, or can I just bring it to you guys and have it approved?
Depends what it is.
Sex offender register. One time,
Actually,
$50 register,
Not even, maybe it's gonna happen.
and what it is, it's drawn up as a one-time fee, because they're dropping them all out at 31, they have to register within 3 days with us. And I figured, you know, it's a $50 fee, and we can use that for a lot of equipment that we have, we use along that lines also.
I would think if it's relative, it's a fee, or has money related to council, we need to act on.
That's stuff I'll bring to the next meeting, I mean, do I take from them first, then you guys look at. It's a fund, it stays separate from everything else, so.
All right, Daphne.
Well, I think you all received the email of the small update that's presented to the commissioners. But I do have a couple other things that I wanted to discuss with you this evening on behalf of Greg. We are currently working on budgets, and you already have this. As you know, we stated last month at your meeting that you're going to have to appropriate the CAGIT dollars for next year, because the certified shares will be going into a fund of their own instead of into the county general fund. And so Greg needs some direction on what you want him to budget that. I mean, what do you want budgeted? Personal services, other services charges? Because before he can advertise, he needs to know, before he can advertise for your public hearing of your budget, he needs to know that. Of course, he also needs the date. And there was one more thing, Greg, that we were talking about this evening that we needed to know. Is the CAGIT money, what they wanted. Oh, and I don't know if you can answer a question for us, but do you appropriate the wheel tax and the surtax separate from the highway fund? You just put it into the highway fund as revenue? Okay.
Yeah, never separated.
Okay. We needed to know that. So, the main thing that we need to know, obviously, are the dates that you want to hold your original public hearing, and then what you want appropriated. And then also, if you're wanting to possibly consider EMS out of the county general fund, we need to add that to the commissioner's budget before advertising, or it'll be a mute issue, so.
Well, for the budget request, we can put it both places.
Right, we can put it both places, but right now, I mean, we worked on budgets today, and we're real close to ready to advertise, just filling out the advertised paper, except for this CAGIT fund and the date. But we'll need to make changes if we're gonna put it both places. Greg needs some direction.
Well, right now, it looks like it's probably gonna be about 260,000. I would go ahead and advertise at both locations.
Right. Okay, so I mean, we can do that, but we just need to know. So it goes into the commissioner, it's in the commissioner's budget itself. It's one line item for EMS.
Yeah, and it's been there before, so it's got its own number.
Okay.
How much is the CAGIT money?
If I look at CAGIT money, the new amount after the certified shares, after the state found all of their issues, what we currently show as the amount coming in for 2012 is $1,059,000. Is the 2,000, and none of that is going in, none of that's being used as revenue in county general
We don't know.
for next year.
We don't know yet what next year's estimated CAGIT is or what the calculation.
They have not sent it to us, but I'm gonna guess it's probably not a lot different, especially since MVH went up by 3%. They increased MVH revenues by 3%, so. I mean, we're talking somewhere in this ballpark of $1,059,000.
Do we know what other counties are doing, how they're handling?
I know some counties are taking a department and put in there, some of them are using their fringe benefits, their group medical, their FICA, their social security. They're looking for big ticket items. I've heard a couple of places talk about they were gonna put the jail in there.
Well,
To make it so that it's easy to track. It's a transparency thing on the state's.
if we did like the jail and sheriff's department and we needed extra, could we still take some out of the general fund to finish
Oh,
them?
absolutely. It's
Right.
just, you just have to
Right.
appropriate these
Yeah.
dollars so that taxpayers can see where these specific income dollars are being spent.
And Commissioner's budget is a large budget. Sheriff's Department, jail, dispatch.
You know, dispatch.
What's your group medical?
I wouldn't do dispatch because you got 911 money coming in. The commissioner's budget this year is $1,195,000.
And again, we can leave it both places and advertise it and make a choice, but we need some direction on
That's not.
what you want it to look like before you advertise. No, I mean, obviously you gotta appropriate the vast majority, or people are gonna start screaming about, I'm paying income taxes and they're not spending them. And it's lost revenue in your county general fund, so county generals can be crunched by this amount of revenue not coming in.
So why don't we take all the fringe and the ambulance? The fringe is like 700, let's say 800,000.
That'll work.
I mean, that's where we can put the ambulance and then, in both places, and then if we have to pull it, it's the easiest thing to pull it.
We're thinking we definitely need to put a full million.
Well, if we anticipated an ambulance in there and had to take it out, we put something else in. I mean, we have to
Sure,
spend.
you can reduce the appropriation and then
Yeah.
reappropriate it.
So,
You could, I mean, we'll be advertising in 100 series, the 1,000 series and the 3,000 series. So, you know, if something in your 3,000 series needs to be a different specific line item, you really only advertise the categories, you don't advertise line by line.
It works out. It does. It's easier for us to grade, accounting wise. That's fine.
I think Greg needs a motion.
Are we taking the full DOC budget,
Yeah.
including ambulance?
No, just the tax fund average.
Just the fringes.
Just your fringe.
And we want to make sure that we get at least $1,059,000, a little bit more on the budget.
Well, it's the big allocation.
More revenue.
Say 43, say 45. And what are we looking at, least 250 on the ambulance?
260, I think.
260? Oh, and then we got insurance of all types. Just slide that one in there for another 225. How's that work?
Then you're over. Then you're over and you can decide what to do.
That work? We'll take those big three things.
Is there a motion, Beth?
That's made that motion.
You just made that motion.
Take the fringe, we'll take the fringe benefits out of the commissioner's budget, the, insurance, all the types out of the commissioner's budget, and we'll add also to that budget, it'll be the $260,000
second?
Second.
Suzanne, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We want to set a meeting for next Monday and Tuesday?
That would be for the budget workshops.
Workshops, right.
Workshops, right, as opposed to the public hearing.
Right.
Right.
So is everybody okay with Monday and Tuesday?
Thursday. I think somebody's going to room reserved for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Will they have our room, this room is reserved?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, next week.
Yeah, I know, but you're at the workshop next week.
You have to have the 10-day notice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, hearings, you have to have that. This is just a workshop. Once you hear your
The difference is
You can't present that budget out there until you've had your public hearing.
We can go over the departments.
Yeah, typically, we've all met in the past in like a little workshop, and then we would have
Right.
something like 3 or 4 weeks later, where it was more detailed with the spreadsheet,
Right.
and it's like, and then,
This is just them, like the Form 1s that they presented.
Right.
They like to go over it with us, so we know.
Right.
Once we get into the budget workshops, per se, cutting and everything else, we kind of have an idea
Their priorities.
as to why they asked different things and.
Well, do you have your advertisement? I mean, is it reviewed?
we will have it very shortly. We're almost finished with the preparation for it.
Because I do know
We're gonna work on it tonight
there's an
until-
advertising requirement.
Right, 10 days. It has to advertise twice.
What
It
about-
has to advertise 10 days prior.
And
the last 3
is
days.
that the budget workshops? The budget hearings?
I guess that's an interpretation. I was always told that you couldn't present any part of the budget until you had your public hearing, but that's your guys' call.
So it's going to be ready to be advertised?
I think it has to be 10-day rule.
Oh, it does, definitely, your budget hearings.
So we call in the budget hearings those 2 days that we sit and work through the budget, and we adopt it on the third day. That's the actual budget hearing, and that is a public meeting. We just sit here all day. So when the department heads come in for 15 minutes and tell us their wishes, that's just the way we do it here. Other counties probably do it differently.
Well, and I said that's your call, but I'm just saying, the budget is not presented until your public hearing, and those budget estimates are part of the budget.
We have to have our budgets adopted by, is it still November 1st?
Yes.
Yes.
So we have time. But I know that other units are dependent on our timeline, and they have to schedule around us.
Well, your review is outside of your public workshop, or out of your budget hearings. And the non-binding review is separate from all of that.
So is everybody good for Monday and Tuesday?
You can do it Monday. You gotta advertise it. Has to be a publicly advertised.
For a workshop with
We're in
department
this-
heads?
Because the council is meeting as a council. Have to advertise it. It has to be open to the public because the council is meeting as a council.
We're into September.
I don't want to set a date and not have the detail we need to have our meeting and then have it changed again. So, I would,
We'll just wait until Greg and Jackie
We just need to get
can
some
let us
dates
know.
set.
We can't advertise until you tell us what day you want your budget hearings.
They've got
You've got to establish your budget.
They've got, and
Well,
when we met before.
we did that once.
Right.
But-
We had a
but
special,
you- but
we had a
you-
special
I
meeting.
understand that, but you didn't give Greg time to even advertise. He didn't have any work done for it.
Historically, we've always had the budget hearings on a Tuesday Tuesday and Wednesday. And I'm gonna suggest the 11th and 12th of September, which is a Tuesday and Wednesday. And that gives a little bit of time for everyone to check their calendars and try to make arrangements.
That's 3 weeks from tonight.
We have almost all of the budget prepared for advertisement. We're going to work after this meeting until whatever it takes to get that prepared.
Do you want to try for the week before, for festival week?
That is for festival week, is the 4th to the
And then the next meeting, that would be the 4th and the 5th?
That is during the Port Festival time. That will get you guys. So
Well, you're just about ready.
we should be able to have the advertisement ready for publication. If we can turn it in tomorrow to review, we might have it by Friday, 24th, and the second advertisement on the 31st. It would work if you want to do that during the Port Festival.
What day of the week, Suzanne?
Tuesday the 4th and Wednesday the 5th. And these meetings start around 4:30.
Pork Festival's not till Thursday.
Yeah, but it's all gonna be set up, you know, for on Wednesday, get there.
Because we're closed Monday and Friday that week. Doesn't affect your hearing, but or workshops or.
For correction time, I'd go up another week. Because if we don't get the advertisement out, then it's all for no. The 11th and 12th is probably a little safer.
I'm okay with the 11th and 12th.
Jenny, all right? 12, yeah.
It doesn't matter, I can do 10, 12, or 13.
12th
Thirteenth, okay.
12th and 13th, that's Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
Sure.
Not bad. Yeah, 12 and 13. That's what we'll shoot for.
That's an extra day.
We, 4:30, is that what we said, 4:30?
Yeah.
1:30.
We'll put you on 4:30.
Is there anything else that we need to address? I want a special thank you to our high school students. You all need to know it is a privilege to serve on a county board like this. With that also comes a great deal of responsibility. It's not for the faint of heart, so you all know that anyway, right? But thank you for coming, appreciate it.
I've got one more thing, if I may.
Yeah.
I need to transfer, I suppose we're gonna have to advertise. I need to transfer from a line, 32200 postage to 21100 office supplies. And we have time cards and checks that to be paid for, written from McCormick's. I need a $400 transfer, so we need to, I understand, well, we need a resolution, and so if we can approve this and then do the resolution. Yeah, for the next year, that's what I need.
So moved, thank you. Is there a second? Been moved and seconded.
It's a transfer
Get
from
Beth off the board.
postage to office supplies with the resolution to follow at the next meeting.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Last item. Review of the minutes. Have you had a chance to look at the minutes?
Well, but we've got to do on the budget, we've got to set the adoption date too.
We're not quite finished with the budget dates.
Oh,
So would you like to do your adoption at the October meeting? So we don't have another meeting?
Then we just have to do the 3-day or the 2-day ahead of that. So we just need to make sure we have enough time to make that happen.
Does that work?
Yes.
That should give us enough time.
16th.
Should we establish the 2 work days?
Yes.
We have a couple days that we need to work the budgets. How about the 10th and 11th of October, that's Wednesday and Thursday?
Well, are we gonna come in a third day on the evening, have the review, or that's what we're gonna do on the 16th?
That's what we're gonna do, the adoption, the final review and adoption will be on the 16th at a regular meeting. The work, our work that we need to do on the budgets, I'm proposing all day the 10th and all day the 11th of October.
Yeah, I can ask her. She hasn't accepted that. Does that work?
Yeah. 10th, 11th.
Any minutes now? Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from last meeting? Anybody want to make a motion concerning the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 17th, 2012.
Is there a second? Thank you, Beth. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Or adjourn?
Did I not say?